A decoy SUV and a taxi followed close behind as camouflage. We raced past cars, fruit stands, vegetable shops, and pedestrians, leaving a thick trail of dust behind. In the front sat our Afghan driver and an Australian friend and customer, Jane, who worked for a private security agency. Calamity Jane, I thought, as I watched her chug the vodka she had neatly concealed in a water bottle, and as I saw her repeatedly checking the safety on her semi-automatic gun. This girl was locked and loaded and all business. In the back with me was my 26-year-old son, Noah. We had just returned to Kabul together 2 days earlier. My younger son, Zachary, was scheduled to fly in from northern Cyprus, where he had been studying at Girna American University. It would be the first time we'd all been together in this beautiful country I had called home for 5 years, a sort of summer family vacation. Fleeing for our lives was not included in the itinerary. But shit happens, and in those past 2 days, a lot of shit happened. It was spring 2007, and I had headed home to Afghanistan from the States on top of the world. A whirlwind tour promoting my book about the Kabul Beauty School had left me giddy with pride, and I was looking forward to getting back to work with my girls at the school. But there were things that had to be dealt with, things that weren't perfect. Even before I left Kabul, rumors had started bubbling up that the beauty school was a brothel, and that the Afghan government was planning on launching an investigation. I was also worried about the government's reaction to my book, which they were supposedly rushing to translate into Farsi. My mention that I had first come to Afghanistan in 2002 with a Christian humanitarian organization could very well put me and those around me in jeopardy. Over there, you can be arrested and threatened with death if someone reports you for converting to Christianity. Of course, there was nothing religious about the school, nor was there anything illicit. I'm far from a preacher, or a madam for that matter. Wasn't sure how seriously to take these rumors. After all, with all that was going on in Afghanistan at the time, how important could a red-headed hairdresser be? And on top of it all, I had, to say the least, a challenging domestic situation to deal with. 3 years earlier, I had married an Afghan man, Samir Mohammed Abdul Khan. The fact that Sam already had a wife and 7 daughters living in Saudi Arabia turned out to be the least of his undesirable qualities. It had all started off fine. For once in my life, I felt like I was making a rather practical decision when it came to a man. Sam's help in keeping the school running was invaluable, and he offered the kind of protection any Western woman doing business in a war-torn nation would, literally, die for. My association with Sam would work wonders for my reputation among the Afghan people, a reputation that was already in the toilet simply due to the fact that I was an American. Besides, I liked having a man in my life, and Sam was kind and respectful, and never imposed his religious or cultural values on me. We were introduced by friends, and after we had been furtively sneaking around for a while in a country where, for Afghans, dating a foreigner was strictly forbidden, marriage seemed like a logical option. But about a year and a half in, Sam began a friendship with the General, one of the most notorious warlords in Afghanistan. There were warlords in my living room. I quickly learned to phone before entering if I saw an SUV with blacked-out windows and a running motor parked outside the house. The headlines that came from being that close to power had a bizarre effect on Sam. He began calling himself a general, or actually became one, it was never clear to me which, and was soon strutting around Kabul in full regalia like a bantam rooster cruising the henhouse. And he was drinking way too much vodka. Not a good thing for a man who had been living in bone-dry Mecca, whose alcohol tolerance level was close to 0, and whose reaction to the slightest provocation was to reach for the nearest gun. Usually my defense became a game of possum. It was easier to pretend not to notice him or to feign sleep than to stir his macho blood. It didn't always work. It had become clear that Sam didn't love me. I was just a war trophy, an American woman who came with connections, and better yet, cash, or so he mistakenly thought. I began to distance myself from him, learning Dari and throwing myself into the challenges of the beauty school and the coffee house I had also